Okay, well, thank you very much for inviting me. And before I get started, I just want to get a feel for how many people either saw at the show the demo I did then, or watched the video afterwards, because then I know whether I need to repeat myself. A couple of hands, only a couple of hands so far. So, okay, so most of you, it'll be newish too. And anyway, it'll be new to you as well because there's some new features just being added. Right, these are all the things I could be demoing, but we'll concentrate on RiscOSM. I may stray into Impact a little bit because there's now some nice functionality that allows you to use Impact with RiscOSM to some extent. RiscOSM, first of all, I've handed out some leaflets and there's some on the table about OpenStreetMap, and really that's what you need to know the background of to understand what RiscOSM is all about. OpenStreetMap is a global mapping project. It's the Wikipedia of maps, and there are folk all over the world using GPS tracking systems, satellite imagery, data sourced from government and other sources, putting it all into a giant database covering the whole world in varying degrees of quality and completeness, it's fair to say. The great thing about OpenStreetMap, compared with things like Google Maps or Bing or whatever, is all the data is freely available for you to download and do whatever you like with. When you go to Google Maps, what you're getting is bitmaps, and you don't have access to the data that's behind the generation of those bitmaps. You might contribute to it through Google Map Maker if that's enabled in your area, but I'm not sure you get any access to anything in return. OpenStreetMap is a very collaborative project, and anyone can sign up for an account and improve the data in their area. So one of the things that I noticed when preparing to come to this meeting, I thought, well, I'd better print off a little map to get me from the station to where you meet, because I didn't know Peter was actually going to pick me up, just in case he didn't turn up. And in fact, that map is on the table. It's that A4 sheet there. If you want to just pass it round, Chris, just the small one. That's what I printed out yesterday in order to get me here. Don't worry about the colours. Our printer has gone funny again and isn't printing yellow, so it didn't really look like that. So here's Sandal and Agbrigg station, where I was getting the train to, and I thought, oh yeah, there's the West Yorkshire Sports and Social Club. Great. I'll go in there and just print that, and that's what I need to do. I noticed, however, that over here there is a school, and there is no name on the school at all. If you go in, zoom in, this school on the corner, for some reason no one's recorded the name yet. If anyone knows the name, write it down. Hilary will add it to the map at some point, and it can be improved, or sign up yourself and add it to the map. So it's as simple as that. If we get time, a bit later on, I will show you the piece of software that we use on Linux to edit the map. You can use any Flash-based editor in your browser if you've got a PC or a Mac or a Linux machine. At the moment, there's no way of editing OpenStreetMap itself on RiscOS, and there isn't any intention on our part to create an editor in the near future because we've got so many other plans and ideas for this software. That it'll take us, probably 2 years to exhaust all of those before moving on to anything really ambitious like an editor. Right. Well, what have we done? I say the data's freely available, and you can download it from a number of different websites. What we have produced is a piece of converter software which goes and fetches, which can convert the data into a suitable format. As part of the help file, it gives you a link to where you can go and get data, and at the moment, we're not up to being able to convert the whole world, because it wouldn't fit within the file call maximum file size limit, for one thing. And there are various other things. We'd need a hugely powerful machine to do it in any reasonable time. But here you can go and download various different European countries and put them through our converter tool. The converter tool, we didn't release that at the show because it wasn't quite ready yet. It worked, but you wouldn't have known what options to click on because there were a whole load of experimental things that didn't get finished off and got abandoned and stuff, and you know. So it's now been tidied up. It's now actually reasonably okay. And so just to show you what that process looks like, I have a file of the Isle of Man. We drop it onto there. And off we go, and it will convert it into the form that is needed for RiscOSM. And why do we need to convert it? You might think, why can't I just use that file as it is? Problem is, OpenStreetMap, the other crucial thing which I failed to mention, is that it's a vector system. So you get points around the country with their latitude and longitude, points around the world, latitude and longitude. You get ways, which are roads or boundaries of areas, and a way is made up of a series of nodes, series of points. And you also get a more complicated thing called a relation, which can allow you to group several things together, and I won't go into them, but they're there too. And effectively, in the file that you get, that you can download from that server I just showed you, you will be given a list of all of the nodes falling within the Isle of Man in numerical order, i.e. the order that they were created in OpenStreetMap. Now that's fine for the Isle of Man maybe, but if you're doing that for the British Isles, that would mean that every time you wanted to render a map for a particular area, you would have to hunt through 700 megabytes of compressed data, fishing out potentially several thousand points representing corners of buildings and turns and roads and everything else. I mean, roundabouts are terrible because it's vector, but it's straight line vector. It's not got Bezier curves. Makes it easier for us to convert because Bezier curves would be much harder to do the maths on where you join them all up. So we have to rearrange it all into a form that is easy to access. And the way we've chosen to do, after a lot of experimentation, is to sort of divide the whole place up into square tiles. They're not square because obviously, you know, but sort of square tiles of the country. And within each of those tiles, we then layer the data so that everything that you might need to drawing large-scale maps, everything you might need to do small-scale maps, such as motorways, which appear on all scales of maps, will be first in the file. And then things that are more detailed, like positions of bus stops, or benches in parks, or post boxes, all of that kind of thing is further on in the file, so that you're only loading that if you're really going into detail. And indeed, when you get further into the file, we split up the tile into 16 pieces, so that when you're going into a really large-scale map, you're not even loading the complete layer at that zoom level. So there's a bit of trial and error, a bit of, oh, it's finished. You see, it's really quick when you talk over it, isn't it? What that produces is a little application directory called OSM data. Providing that's been double-clicked before we run RiscOSM, then it'll use that as the source of the data. It can't as yet look at several of them or add them to a path or merge them or anything like that. That'll come, I hope. So that's what the conversion process is for. The Isle of Man, as you see, that was reasonably okay, but for the British Isles, it takes 15 hours on a Panda board with 1 gigabyte of RAM. If you want to do it on something with 512 megabytes of RAM, it takes an awful lot longer because basically to do it effectively at speed, it's really useful to have in memory a complete list of all of the nodes in the country and where they are, so that when you're doing the ways and the other relations, you don't have to keep on looking them up on disk. So on the Panda board, you can fit them all in memory. Anything with 512 meg of RAM or lower. Well, I started it going on the Beagle board earlier this week because the Panda board was playing up. And it was estimating converting the ways as taking 57 hours. And I wasn't really convinced that that was actually going to happen. And no, that was the indexing. Sorry, that's not the converting, that was the indexing. So I reckon it's probably going to take 7 days or so to do the whole of the British Isles. So we have a Panda board. It does it in 15 hours. And we're happy to issue CDs at shows and send them by post. And we've recently upgraded our web space, so we'll probably be uploading it onto our website, but possibly not over the home broadband connection because it's grindingly slow when we try. You know, broadband is great for downloading, but uploading, it is asymmetric digital subscriber line, i.e. you get much faster coming towards you than going away. So that's enough on the conversion tool. That will be released, I hope, hopefully by the weekend. I was hoping to bring freshly minted CDs with new version to here, just in case anyone was interested in purchasing and so on. But we were just about ready with the release late last night, and there's no time to burn the CDs, because as it's a very full CD, it does take 5 minutes per CD. So I haven't got any CDs, but we will be announcing it later this week, I hope. We steer clear actually of putting it on all of the announcements. It got mentioned just before the Wakefield show that we were going to launch it. There have been dribs and drabs of people buying since then. We sold a lot at the show and there have been dribs and drabs since then. But we haven't actually publicised to say it's now available for general release. So that will happen later this week because we've now made quite a lot of improvements to the software, which means that it's really well worth trying now. I'll just run this again and explain how you use it. The data I've got here, covers the British Isles and the Netherlands. We converted the Netherlands because we knew that at the Wakefield show there's always a particular person who comes over from the Netherlands each year. And we thought he might like the Netherlands rather than British Isles. Actually, he bought both, so that was perhaps so he knows how to get to Wakefield next time. I'm not, I don't know. Lots of different ways of opening a new map. We've just added a new one, which is UK grid reference, so you can put in an OS grid reference in there as well now. But often the easiest, quickest way is just to search for a place. It's got a big gazetteer of the whole of all the place names that are in the system, about 50,000 place names, and you can just start typing, search for one, and off we go. It's worked out the grid reference. I don't know whether you saw that. So the grid reference was put in, the latitude and longitude was put in, and here we have, I don't know why I chose Eastbourne. I've never looked at Eastbourne before. It's got a miniature steam railway apparently. It's got a golf course. Lots of golf courses. It's an excessive number of golf courses. Yeah. Anyway, there it is. And as you can see, it is all vector stuff. It's building all of that on the fly, pulling it from the disk. Takes up about 600 meg of disk space. Most of us have quite a lot of that spare, on these big hard drives we've got in our newer machines. But it does run from CD at an acceptable speed as well on an Ionics. RiscPC, it's a bit too slow, and you very soon run out of memory because, it's already using 13 meg there, and I've not done very much yet. You'll see that creep up to 70 meg quite easily. We do throw data out as you move to a different part of the country, but there's yeah. So anyway, there's lots of features which you will be familiar with if you've used Google Maps and things like that on a modern JavaScript-capable browser. You can double-click to zoom in. You can double right-click to zoom out, which of course you can't do on your PC. you can use the scroll mouse. I never know how to explain which way to scroll the scroll mouse to do whether it's coming out or going in. But instinctively somehow, yeah, I did the right one. So as you can see, we're zooming out there, and you can drag a box, and it goes. And of course, you can move about by dragging the map, and it'll load a bit more data if needs be and start redrawing it. You can zoom out and in before it's finished drawing the map. One of the things we really wanted to do was make it responsive, so that if it hasn't finished drawing the map, you can still drag about, move about, zoom out, zoom in. If you've decided, oh, hang on, yeah, I didn't want that bit. Come on, it's that way, so on. So we've tried to make it so that it really responds to the user. The only exception at the moment is the end of the process where it's placing all the text. It then goes in hourglasses, and you can't do a thing with the machine until it's finished. Can't remember whether there's a good reason for that, but it might get addressed. So we tried to make it as responsive as possible. I say we, but Hillary's done all the work. And the only thing I've done is the data conversion thing, which was a bit of a headache. But she's been doing all the stuff with the rendering. Now, what do I talk about? Well, you can do all sorts of things, as well as some people have said, well, what about a key? We need a key. What's all this lot? And you'll notice down the bottom, I can't move the mouse to show you because then it'll stop doing it. Down the bottom there, where it's got the scale of the map and all of that, you'll see there's a thing that says wetland. It's also got a number after it. I think you can turn that off in the choices, but it's turned on for us. The number is the ID of the object in OpenStreetMap. We tend to do a bit of looking up as to what's really behind the data and what it looks like in the real, in the official statement, because we're debugging why we've not got it quite right. So you'll see here there's a peak, there's wetland, there's a forest, there's East Dean Road, A259 Primary Road, Seaford Head Golf Club. And Control-Click, list of links. There are links to this, because quite a few things in OpenStreetMap are tagged with extra information, such as their email address or the website for their golf course. So here we are. Oh, it looks quite nice. Yeah. So that's the sort of thing that can be done. If you really want to go into detail, there is an info button down here. If you hover over anything, it will then give you all of the information. So what we're reproducing here is the tagging that is inside OpenStreetMap. So you might think, well, why does it say natural wetland, salt marsh? That's a bit that's just to do with how the tags and the metadata inside OpenStreetMap are structured. Natural equals whatever. There's natural equals, land use equals forest, natural equals cliff, natural equals wetland, and things like this. And then within wetland, well, it's a salt marsh. Things obviously get more detailed when you come over here. This one is Seaford Head Golf Club. It's a golf course. It's got their email address. Then South Down Road, PN254JS, Seaford. Phone numbers there as well. So there's all sorts of stuff there. We have chucked out a lot of stuff when converting it to get it down to CD size. There's a whole range of bits of funny data which are there, some of which are really useful to some people, I'm sure, but they just take a lot of space. So, for example, for bus stops, a lot of the bus stops in the country have time codes and all sorts of funny stuff to do with public transport information. And if you look at a single bus stop in OpenStreetMap, you might find about 10 or 15 tags with different bits of stuff. And we've thrown out all of them bar one for that, because most of it is so esoteric and I don't know what you're meant to use it for. With the release of the converter tool, though, if you want to, you'll be able to decide which things to throw out and which things to keep and reconvert the data if you want to, so that you can keep what interests you and throw out other stuff. So, for example, we threw out quite a lot of detailed information about things like shipping buoys, lighthouses, all the kinds of things that you need to know if you're in a boat. And we thought probably most people are not going to want that. Some people might, but it's taking up a lot of space because it's all very detailed. We'll wipe it, we'll throw it out. If we get interest, it can be put back, by someone. We're not rendering it, we haven't got any means of putting it on the map. So there wasn't much point keeping it. There's quite a bit. We've been cautious on it, so there is quite a lot of stuff in there which is, you might not think is desperately useful. So, what next? There's a little button down here, draw file output. Let's get draw. Because the great thing is, it produces draw files. Oh, we got draw twice. So here is a draw file, and we have to cheat a bit. There's a sort of white border around the edge there to make sure that the roads don't get all messy at the edge. If you take it off, you'll see how we've done it. There we are. You see, because the bits going off the edge have to go off a certain distance to make sure you get both sides of the road going all the way to the edge of the map and stuff like that. This apparently causes a bit of problem when you're putting it into a frame in impression, as I was told by Jim Nagel when he put it in the archive magazine, that he had to fiddle about to get it to fit because impression wanted to shrink it down so that the white border was included, and he didn't want to waste the place on the page for that. So if you want to, you can go in and think, well, actually, that positioning of that symbol there is not great. Try again. Let's move it over here. So we can move our golf course somewhere else, make it really misleading. All of the symbols, by the way, are all little draw files, and you can. Let's just throw that away. I haven't said very much. We haven't said very much yet about how all of this works, but inside here there are a whole load of symbols, and so you can alter any of them if you need to. And the way we designed it is you can put your own version of the symbol into the choices directory instead, and that will then override the symbols we supplied. So you can design your own if you don't like the ones we've done. In fact, someone sent us some. He sent us one with we'd got a symbol for a cash machine which had banknotes coming out, but they had $1 on. So he's given us one with £1 on. I think that's what we supply. We haven't got one with a euro on, which we'll need for the Netherlands, really. But
that will be.
So
that will be. I'll send you the voucher.
Okay, great. It's really nice.
Sorry.
It's nice people are using it and thinking what to do. Now we've in here at the moment we've got 3 different. Yeah, let's go back to RiscOSM. The thing I also ought to emphasise with Google, you get bitmaps, so that's it. Well, here we've got lots of different style sheets because it's all rendered on the fly, and we can do different things in different parts of the country, different things for different purposes. I mean, so let me get my example together. So I'm going to go to Benton, where my parents-in-law live. Sorry, this is exactly the same demo as in the.
No, it's different bits.
Different, exactly the same demo as on the show. Here is the standard map that we've done for the standard style. But we've also included a more detailed style, which I think we'll probably put in houses and so on it. It's a small scale. I don't know whether there are any houses actually marked up in this area. Yeah, you see there's a few buildings there that might not have been in at the previous level. Basically, the detailed one needs to load a fair amount more extra data, so it was getting a bit slow, so we cut stuff out. We've also done, just as an example, a kind of railway style where it emphasises the railway information and makes the roads all grey so that they don't stand out so much. And that's just a completely different style, same data. And the colours, well, that's because if we look at the information, trying to get the right bit, it's because it's electrified with a contact line and a voltage of 25,000 volts. This one here is electrified with only 1500 volts, so we've given it a different colour. That's the Newcastle Metro system, and the other one is the East Coast Main Line. And then there's a little freight line that goes off down that way somewhere. So that was all done. Didn't take us that long to design that. Just a little bit of time before the show, just so we could show you can have a completely different view of the map. A couple of weeks ago, we did. I was involved at a local event where we wanted to produce a really big map that people could draw on to say what they liked and didn't like in the area. You know, things that they wanted sorted out and stuff like that. So we produced a map of the area around near where we live in Neville's Cross in Durham, and we used the choices to. The choices have got much more complicated since the last release because there's far more. I said to Hilary last night, the next release is going to have radio buttons and lots of panes for the different choices, isn't it? To get down to. So you can now choose the paper size, which wasn't there before, and the margin. So we whopped it up to A0 with a bit of a margin to allow for the printer, and we generated a big map, and we put it in a style. We knocked up a style. This is the one we used in the end, which really it cuts out a lot of the background colour. So all the farmland is normally brown, so that we left that white. All of the residential areas have a grey background normally. Again, we left that. We were doing it at a higher scale than this, probably 1 in 10,000. We left that white, and we didn't. We washed out the colours. So the woodland and so on, it's still green, but it's a lot paler. But we left in quite a lot of features just for identification purposes. And I don't know, would you like to pass that round, Chris? This is not the one that we used. You don't have to find someone you know who's got access to an A0 plotter, but just pass that round. You'll see the kind of thing you can do. But the great thing is, it's free data, so you can use it for whatever you like. The only requirement is you've got to acknowledge that it's from OpenStreetMap. Just says copyright OpenStreetMap. As long as you say that, it can be used for anything. So it just opens up all sorts of possibilities.
Map. Handy when you play.
So what's next? Anyway. I mentioned some of the nice features with links, and I'm just going to go into Broxton, into Beeston. Again, this is an example I've used before. Sorry about this. And we'll look at a bus stop or two. You think, right, that's thrilling. But this is just to demonstrate some of the stuff we've got. Now, this all looks rather weird actually, because for one thing, the screen is squashed, and also it's not in the styles I'm used to. Right, let's go for the more colourful style again. One of the things we had to get right when we were developing was to make sure that the distances were projected properly for latitude and longitude. And Hilary spent the first few months of developing this software with everything being squashed because she hadn't, spread it out. So we got used to maps looking like this. You do need to have a square aspect on your monitor. which this isn't at the minute. Anyway, I'm just going to zoom into the... oh, there! Good grief. I've not had a bug like that for a while. I wonder whether I managed to drag out an area that was 0 in size or something. I think, because my finger slipped on the keyboard. I'll have to go and test that. This is the Central Eastern, where they are busy putting in a tram system at the moment. And there are some folk who are such avid followers of the tram network, that they are carefully adding the track when it gets put in. So I can assure you, having visited a few weeks ago, that the tram track now does go on both sides of the road, up to the junction. But after that, it's dotted lines because they haven't installed the track yet, and they're going to have to dig it all up and dig up all the roads and everything. So that's all in process, and you get web links of all sorts. There's the local Wetherspoons, and one of the nice features is where's the bus stop? Come on, we need a bus stop. That's the bus station. Perhaps I haven't zoomed in enough. I think I might need to zoom in a bit more. So as I was saying, we were throwing out a lot of that NAPTAN data, but some of it we have kept. And I'm not seeing any bus stops even now. This is very odd. Where have they gone?
It's the vandals.
Pedestrians.
Hang on, I know there's some up here. There's some up here. I'm just wondering whether there's a fault in this version of the star sheet and they've vanished or something. Let's go up to here. I'm sure there's some up this way. Oh, there's one somewhere around here. Oh, come on. This is most mysterious. I'm going to go for detail just in case. I'm just trying to remember the last time I saw a bus stop on this on this system. I'm wondering whether they've vanished. Okay, we'll forget the bus stops. What I was going to show you was, with that bus stop ID number that we have retained, we're able to manufacture a link which, if you click on it, takes you to the next departures from that bus stop, live departures. That's in certain parts of the country. It doesn't work everywhere, but you know. So we have tried to keep in data where it's useful and where there's something fun you can do with it. There's Wikipedia links. There's all sorts of bits and bobs. Now, I've got some bookmarks. They may not be on this machine. There's not a bookmarking system as well. You can bookmark your favourite maps, and this is part of the Netherlands. It's all very green in the Netherlands. They've got all the land use covered, I think. And here's a windmill over here, and it says control click list of links. There's a Wikipedia entry for this windmill, but also there is a link to the fantastic Molen database of the Netherlands, the windmill database. So all of these windmills in the Netherlands have a unique database number which people have added to OpenStreetMap, and so because that's in there in the data, I'll just show you what it looks like. It says MDB ID. When we were converting the Netherlands data, I was thinking, what are these? There's an awful lot of these. Do we want to keep them? What use are they? I then realised that they were links to this database and that we could manufacture a URL, so we've done that, and there you are. You can go through to the windmill database. There's also a nice database for roller coasters. If you go to Alton Towers, however, no one's added the numbers for that. So if you want to go to Alton Towers and work out which one's which and link them up to the database and add it to OpenStreetMap, then I'll be able to demo it with UK data next time. Getting a bit of indigestion. Someone has really gone to town mapping this theme park, because they put on, as you can see, it says railway, light rail, all this kind of stuff, in order to make it appear. So these are all these roller coasters. And control click. There's a link to the roller coaster database. Interesting. That one's not working anymore. I wonder whether it's gone wrong. Dearie me. Well, we're going to have to update that one. I'll have to go and track it down. Well, the roller coaster system is still there, but obviously the URLs don't work the way they did. I wonder what's happened there. What's a letdown? Anyway, yes, there's all sorts of strange stuff in this system. Right, we've got. Oh yeah, I need to do a bit of. We've also supported things like undo and redo. So you can, if you go into a bit of map and realise actually the view you were looking at just before was the one you want, you can do F8 or undo to go back to the previous one. Similarly, I'm just doing this randomly to demonstrate another feature. We've got a history view a bit inspired by NetSurf. So you see all the stuff I've been looking at, and we can go back to any of them, have another look at it. Obviously it's not instant because we're throwing out the data to make room for new. Let's just see how full it's got. 31 meg now, you see, so we're well over what you can cope with RiscOS 4 and RiscOS Select because it's entirely in the WIMP slot and you can't go that high on the WIMP slot. We could probably look at using dynamic areas, but that's extra work and we haven't done that yet because we've just been doing all the other things. So we will come along eventually. Right, what else? Anyway, I want to demo, before we run out of time, great, there's only 20 minutes left really. Yeah, okay. I need to show you some really exciting new things that we've just been adding. So, quite a lot of people have smartphones these days. When you take a picture with your smartphone, if you've got it set up in this particular way, it will probably put a geolocation in, latitude and longitude when you take a picture. Drag a few of these to RiscOSM. It will read the location and put the points on the map. So that's brand new for the new release coming shortly. This is part of Durham. We found we only had really bad pictures of Durham. And some of these are in the wrong place actually because it does depend on your phone having a good signal in order to get the accurate position. So one of these ended up near our house and it's nowhere near our house. Anyway, let me just let it display again and we'll see the, we'll go back to default style as well. Sorry, I'm delaying things now. We'll see these points appearing shortly. These are little pins with camera icons on them when they get there, after we've got all the text. Right, there we are. So I dropped 3 on, and I think one of them didn't have a location in, and this is definitely in the wrong place. But we can control click and view the picture. This one is certainly in the wrong place. That actually should be over here. Further release might allow you to write the correct location back into the file. That's on the list of ideas, so you can geolocate your pictures properly if they were, accurately done. Another thing that people have asked for, very nice stuff, is GPX. This will take a while, but it's well worth it. First of all, it's loading this track file. If you've got any kind of device, like some kind of, a Garmin device, there's all sorts of Garmin things that take tracking from GPS. you can output a GPX file, and it's an XML file, got lots of point data, elevation data in it. Again, drop one of those onto RiscOSM, and it'll work out what area of the country to display. And here we are. Here's part of the Northern Lake District, which will take a little bit of time to render. What's it doing now? Yeah, I mean, it's quite entertaining watching it, putting everything up sometimes, but you can't always see what it's doing when it's something really. There's some trunk roads going in, they're green, and then we've got the railways, and now bridges, and it tells you what it's doing down here, positioning text, and then we've got this track at the top, and you can hide the individual pins at the end. You can hide the whole track. You can get rid of it off the out of memory, and you can display information. So this is some general information from just over 2 years ago, when I and some colleagues from work did the C2C bike ride from Workington to Weymouth in Sunderland. So we covered 51 miles in the first day, elevation range from 3 to 304 metres, and it took us 7 hours. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a very good average speed, does it really? But we stopped for lunch. We weren't hurrying.
Is that on tarmac or off tarmac?
Mixture. Yeah, some of it was really wacky bits. Through this forest where we met a tree that had fallen over and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I can now retrace our steps, and I can't be in that bit of forest. Anyway, somewhere around there. Yeah, so just drop your GPX file on, and don't know which. That's another, isn't it? Yeah. And it'll display. Here's another visit. Durham again. I think some tracking applications you can make notes. If there's a little note, then it'll display a point when you're. This is slightly frustrating that the track goes and disappears as soon as you drag the map. But anyway, there we are. So track end marker. So this little. I didn't mean to do. I don't know how to use this feature yet. Pin info. That's what it says. Hillary made a note saying resumed tracking because she just wanted to find out what happened and what it looked like in the data. So she made some little notes from time to time with her phone, that's the kind of thing you note down if you're doing bits of mapping, what to add to the map and stuff. So anyway, you can now lay it over the top. And as you can see, the accuracy of the GPS fix isn't always that great because I can assure you, she didn't go into the fighting cocks and leap through the side wall and then wander over through this edge of this building. She walked straight up here, but signals are not always that great. So that's two of the new features. Another really nice one. Is I could demonstrate live, maybe, with Google. If we go for Wakefield, look up Wakefield in Wikipedia. Lots of places in Wikipedia have coordinates, some at the top, sometimes Ordnance Survey reference. If you click on it, it takes you to an interesting website, which part of Wikimedia Foundation Labs, and this was really slow yesterday, so fortunately I've got a copy saved on here, which I will now demonstrate with on the hard drive. So it gives you this page here, where you can link through to all sorts of different sources of map data, yeah. But also there is a little geo-URI here, which is so it's like a URL, but it starts geo : and then it's got the latitude and the longitude. RiscOSM registers itself as a GeoURI handler on RiscOS. So if you click on that, it will run RiscOSM, go to the map, go to the point on the map, and that should start looking like Wakefield soon. I don't know Wakefield, so I haven't recognised it yet. But you might. So this also means that suppose we have now this is a bit I really haven't prepared. Suppose we have a database in Impact, and we'll this is a pretend database, it's not really, yeah. So supposing we had in here and we put in, oh I don't know what we want to put in, 53.6, oops. Minus 1.412. Now, oh hang on, edit card again, save record. I don't know whether this will work because I can't remember the syntax. But yeah, it did. Look. So that's nice. If we've got a database in Impact, or indeed in any other system that supports launching URLs, there's a latitude field, there's a longitude field, here's an action button which is telling it to launch a URL that's geo, latitude, comma, longitude. Then it will go and open that in RiscOSM. So that's quite nice. Now, I was going to very briefly point out that there is another piece of mapping software which has been released not long ago by Thomas Milius, and it's completely free. We charge £20 for RiscOSM, but MapView, he has produced, uses OpenStreetMap data again, but it's just getting the bitmaps. It downloads the bitmaps from the various servers and displays them. But he's also done a nice little tool called now, how are we going to fix that? See whether it works like that. Hold on. This is going to be really interesting. Yeah, right. He's produced a fairly modular system. This thing here, which I won't be able to demonstrate without faffing around a lot, because clearly I haven't installed it properly. It's got a very peculiar name, WKNOWYL, which stands for We Know Where You Live, which sounds very Big Brotherish, but it's actually just the name of an application programming interface to Google's geodata interface. And with that tool, you can double click and you get a window where you can search by country, street name, town and street name and stuff. And it'll do a search, it'll retrieve results, and you can then drop a text file containing latitude and longitude information and drop it onto this map tools thing and get a map from there. well, we've now made it so you can drop it on our tool as well and get the map in RiscOSM. We've also made it so that you can take the same type of file that we know where you live produces, and I didn't mean to click, did I? And drop it onto here. But I have a feeling, everybody told me that you have to save it to disk before it worked or something like that. But no, I think she must have got it working. So there we are. So there's the same area in the official OpenStreetMap tiles downloaded on the fly there just from the web. He has offered a number of different styles there. There's a cycle map style which has contours in it, which we haven't got in our data. His tool's a bit rough at the edges. You can't drag out, you can't double click to zoom, you can't use scroll mouse. You can zoom using these buttons here. You can't save out the map. So yeah, I hope he's going to do some more work on it, because I think it's quite nicely complementary. You can use, they suit a different sort of purpose. With our tool, you get all the data on the CD, you've got it there, and it's on your machine. You can use it however you like, and you can design your own style sheets to render it in whatever style you want, which is really powerful, but also at the moment it's quite complicated. We don't as yet have a really nice style editor. But the next release, we are at least telling people how the style sheets work. So the help file for RiscOSM now has a separate page explaining the style sheet system and how you create style sheets and what it's all about, how you define all the different properties of the colours of areas, widths, start and end. You know, are there triangles or round ends or dashes and borders, hatching, all this stuff. So we've now documented style sheets, so you can start tinkering with style sheets as well if you want to. So yeah, that might be enough. So shall I stop there, and if anyone's got any questions, then we'll, because I've got to pack up in about 5 minutes or something. So I was going to switch to this machine and just show you what the editor looks like, but we probably don't need to do that unless anyone's really interested.
Why not?
Who's first? Question.
Can you print out a large map of tiles on paper to glue together?
Yeah. What you have here, if you switch to a big paper size and then go, I haven't got some printer drivers loaded. If you click on preview, what it does is throw the map into another application that Hilary wrote called DrawPrint. And with DrawPrint, you can say how many pages across you want, and it will scale it, and and then you'll be able to print it out on 16 sheets of paper, and whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's really integrated with DrawPrint very closely, so you can just do that if you need to. So if you don't have access to the A0 plotter, you can still print out a solid big map.
Presumably there are glue markings that do.
You can set all the choices about how much overlap you want. So you can say you want 1 centimetre overlap in each direction, and do you want page numbers somewhere on it so you know what order they're all in, all that kind of thing. So that's standard functionality is DrawPrint, which you might have used for other purposes. That's a free piece of software. So if you've not used DrawPrint, if you've got a draw file and want to print it out really big, or want to, it's quite handy for printing web pages from NetSurf, because if you wanted to remove the left-hand navigation column and all that kind of stuff that you didn't really want to print, you can crop. So you can just take stuff in and then miss that bit out. So NetSurf, printing from NetSurf, it's quite often handy just to export draw file and drop it onto DrawPrint, and that's about it like that. People are using it to print family trees. Andrew Rawls is distributing it with his DP genealogy now, because it's very good for printing family trees really big. over lots of sheets. It just gives you more control before you shove it out the printer and find it's all horrible. So it uses draw print. If you're confident that it's going to do the right thing, you can just click print and it'll just shove it out. So, and you get the choice whether to include the pins that are on the map for export as draw or sprite, or for printing. Then you can include those tracks and overlay pins or not, as you wish. You can export URI files, and I was going to say something else just then, but it's completely slipped my mind. It tells you a bit about stuff. Yeah.
Can I just check the machine requirements? Effectively saying this needs to be a Panda board.
No, it doesn't need to be a Panda board for viewing the maps.
No.
There are people viewing the maps perfectly happily with an Ionix, Raspberry Pi, Beagle board or Panda board. We would recommend RiscOS 5 at the moment, because if you've got RiscOS 4, your WIMP slot will fill up before too long. You then have to quit and rerun and stuff like that. The only RiscOS 4 machine that we've got a RiscOS 4 emulator and RiscOS Select emulator on this laptop, so we ought to do more testing with it. But the trouble is the memory allocation stuff. We would have to use a dynamic area under RiscOS 4 or RiscOS Select to get enough memory, and then you're using a whole different way of allocating the memory in C, and so we can't just use malloc in C. We'd have to do it all differently, which is going to be a hassle. I think it's probably doable. The other thing is that if you're looking at Eastern European countries, RiscOS 5 is an awful lot better because of the Unicode font manager. So if you're wanting any funny accents of any kind, it works very much better with RiscOS 5. We have got it working with the Latin 1 font manager on RiscOS 4 now. It wasn't at the show. And also there was a weird little problem which meant it crashed on the RISC-PC straight away, which boiled down to something really unexpected. But anyway, so it is working. You can run this on the RISC-PC. I just wouldn't really recommend it, because for one thing, it's not got the processing power, and it's not got the memory WIMP slot, and yeah.
Things move on.
Things move on, yeah. Was it 20 years old?
20
PC?
years.
Yeah, I mean,
Done all right for 20.
the Ionix has been around for 10 now, so, I'm guessing it would work on virtual, on RPC EMU if you were running RiscOS 5. I should think of, which is an option these days.
Okay.
Turn your mic on.
Always helps. Yeah. Okay. Right. If you'd like to show your appreciation, then no one.
Thanks very much.
Rock, helping you with Acorn and RiscOS computing.